Knights of the Frozen Throne is here. The brand new Hearthstone expansion brings 135 cards based on the classic World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King expansion. And it also comes with some free-to-play adventure content based on Icecrown Citadel. You'll take on 3 wings, including legendary enemies such as Sindragosa, Lord Marrowgar and Professor Putricide, before a final showdown with Arthas, the Lich King. You'll earn a few card packs from playing that, as well as one of the new legendary hero cards, which we'll talk about in a minute. And each of the classes you can play as has a slightly different encounter with the Lich King, so there's going to be plenty of replayability to that fight. If you manage to defeat Arthas with every single class, you unlock the old uncorrupted Arthas as a Paladin hero skin. Of course, a brand new Hearthstone expansion means new mechanics. And the first one we're going to take a look at is Lifesteal. Now, Lifesteal has existed on a couple of cards in the past, most notably Wicker Flame Burn Bristle, which heals your hero for any damage it deals. Wicker Flame now will have the Lifesteal tag, as do quite a few cards in the new set. So basically, any damage you deal with them also heals your hero for that amount. Up next, we have not a mechanic per se, but a similarity of style, the 3 princes, Keleseth, Tal'Daram and Valenar. So they're 2 mana 2/2, 3 mana 3/3, 4 mana 4/4. All of them have a battle cry that give you a decently powerful effect if you have no other cards of that mana cost in your deck. It's going to be difficult to fit these in. Valenar maybe has the best chance because you can kind of go without 4-cost cards in certain decks, but the others are going to struggle to find a place, I think. But you never know, maybe they'll work out. Interesting to try. We also have the Fate Spinner. Now currently this is just a one-off card, but Blizzard have indicated it's kind of a test bed and they might look to do this in the future if it works out. So the idea of Fate Spinner is you choose a death rattle secretly when you play it. So in this case you can either deal 3 damage to all minions when it dies, or give all minions +2/+2 when it dies. Now this is interesting because they're very diverse effects, so it should be pretty obvious which one you've picked. If the enemy has a lot of minions, you'll take the damage. If you have a lot of minions, you'll get the buff. But it's so obvious that it might allow you to play some pretty interesting mind games, so I'm sure at some point we'll see a few pretty incredible highlight reels where someone's bluff gets called. Next up, we have the Death Knight cards, which are a mini set of non-collectible cards which can be put into your hand by other cards you play. If you're familiar with Ysera, her dream cards work kind of similarly to this, where you'll get them from the card and they're a little bit more powerful than you might expect from a standard playable card. So the 2 cards that give you Death Knight cards are Arthas, the Lich King, an 8/8 taunt that adds a Death Knight card to your hand at the end of turn, and his pet Arthas, who is a 4 mana 2/2 beast that gives you a Death Knight card when he dies. So let's take a look at the Death Knight cards themselves. There are 8 of them and they're all pretty powerful, as I said a moment ago. First up is Death Grip. 2 mana, steal a minion from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand, so you actually pull it out of their deck and they don't have it anymore. You might get a really key combo piece, but whatever you're getting, it's probably going to be decent. Next up is Death Coil, a 2 mana, deal 5 damage to an enemy or restore 5 health to a friendly character. A nice simple kind of board swing, nothing too fancy, but it does the job. Next up is Obliterate, 2 mana to destroy a minion and your hero takes damage equal to its health. So a bit of a high side cost there, but a cheap removal, and given that the minion might well have hit you in the face anyway, you're probably happy to take the damage. Next we have Death and Decay. 3 mana to deal 3 damage to all enemies. That's fantastic. I mean, think about Flame Strike, which costs you 7 mana for only 1 more damage, or Lightning Storm, which is 3 mana, you deal 2 or 3 damage and you have to overload. This card's fantastic. Then we have Anti-Magic Shell. 4 mana to give your minions +2/+2 and can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. It's a bit of a win more card, but if you've got the board on lockdown, this just wins you the game almost outright most of the time. For 5 mana, you have Doom Pact. Destroy all minions, remove the top card from your deck for each minion destroyed. That's potentially quite a high cost, especially if you're running control or a combo deck in particular, but in some situations it might be just what gets you out of trouble. Next we have Army of the Dead, 6 mana to remove the top 5 cards of your deck and summon any minions removed. Now remember, if you're summoning minions you won't get any battle cry effects, so this is going to be a little bit niche, but it can be such a huge tempo swing that it might just grab you the board in an unassailable way. And finally, for 7 mana, we have the big daddy of them all, the iconic weapon of the Lich King, Frostmourne. It's a 5/3 weapon that captures the souls of minions you kill with it, and then when it dies, any minions you killed with Frostmourne are summoned on your side of the board. That's a huge tempo swing, very mind control-y effect, and a 5/3 weapon by itself is pretty decent for 7 mana, but with the added effect, this is going to be a huge game winner. And that's all of the Death Knight cards, which brings us on to the final and probably most exciting part of the new expansion, the hero cards. Now when the expansion was announced, we were wondering if we'd ever see the new Death Knight class. We didn't get that. Instead what we got is 9 new Death Knight classes via these hero cards, one in each class, which gives you a Death Knight version of your current class. So when you play the card, it has a battle cry effect, it also gives you 5 armor, and then it replaces your hero with this new undead version of the hero that has a special hero power. Probably the best way to talk about these is just to go through them all, so let's start with the Hunter, Deathstalker Rexxar. 6 mana, battle cry, deals 2 damage to all enemy minions, you get your 5 armor, and then your hero power becomes Build a Beast that lets you craft a custom Zombeast. So the way this power works is that when you use it, you get 2 discovers in a row, they're both beasts. The first one will be one with card text, the second one will be a base sort of statsy minion, and they'll both be 5 mana or less, and then the 2 cards are smashed together into one. Their mana cost is added, the attack is added, the health is added. You get both cards in one weird creation that you can then play. It's incredibly potent, and in any class other than Hunter would be incredibly strong. The problem is Hunter has a real trouble getting to the late game. So is this going to be enough to swing that? Maybe, we'll see. Up next, everyone's favourite mage has become Frost Lich Jaina. 9 mana with the battle cry, summon a 3/6 water elemental, pretty much the standard we're used to from the mage, a very classic card, and your elementals now have lifesteal for the rest of the game. In addition, the mage's 1 mana ping will now summon a water elemental if it kills a minion. So again, another 3/6, again with lifesteal, so any damage it deals is going to heal you, and it's a water elemental, so it will freeze things that it hits. This is incredibly potent. This is such a powerful late game card. Bear in mind that elementals have been pretty good in the past. They've never quite made it to top tier, but perhaps this will push them over. Also, the mage has access to elementals such as Pyros that are very powerful. So this card has a ton of potential and is potentially devastating. For the shamans, we have Thrall Deathseer. 5 mana with a battle cry, transform your minions into random ones that cost 2 more. So a double evolve effect on your side of the board. And then the hero power, Transmute Spirit, is a single targeted evolve. Transform a friendly minion into a random one that costs 1 more. Now if the shaman gets the board, which they can do, this can be incredibly powerful. They hit you, they take out your minion, they transform theirs, which heals it back up and makes it even stronger possibly. It's gonna run out of control very quickly. However, there's probably better options if shaman has the board to just finish the game, so it'll be interesting to see whether this actually works out. The rogues have Valeera the Hollow. 9 mana with the battle cry, gains stealth until your next turn. So you don't really do a great deal, but the opponent can't do much to you either. They can't attack you, they can't target you with spells. It's going to be difficult for them to do much to your face. After that you get Death's Shadow, a passive hero power which we've not seen on a playable class before. And what that does is, at the start of your turn you get a Shadow Reflection card in your hand. And this will change to whatever the most recent card you've played is, and it keeps going. So if you play several cards in a turn, it will keep changing to whatever the last thing you played was. At the end of your turn, if you haven't used the Shadow Reflection, it goes away, you get another one next turn. So you can't stack them up, but it's going to be a very good way to combo some cards, get that extra Eviscerate for a little bit more damage, bounce another minion back to hand with a sap. There's plenty of combo potential, and this could be incredibly interesting to see in play. Up next is the Priest with Shadow Reaper Anduin, and I love the art on this card. 8 mana, battle cry, destroy all minions with 5 or more attack. So even if you only hit 1 or 2, that's quite powerful. That's, you know, several Shadow Word deaths perhaps. And the hero power, Void Form, deal 2 damage, and it refreshes after you play a card. So there's some interesting ways to combo this out. For example, if you play Raza the Chained, in a sort of singleton style deck, then you're going to be able to play this for free. That will carry over to the upgraded hero power of Void form. There's also some interesting combos you can play. You can get Prophet Velen out to double the damage of the hero power. You can play Radiant Elementals and then Shadow Visions into Shadow Visions into Shadow Visions and infinitely respawn your hero power. But even so, even if you're not doing anything quite that techy and that combo-y, this is still a really powerful hero power. The Druid has become Malfurion the Pestilent. 7 mana, choose one, either summon 2 1/2 poisonous spiders or 2 1/5 scarabs with taunt. So this is quite versatile. If you're in the late game, you're against a control deck, that poison's going to be really handy. If you're against a more aggressive deck with a lot of stuff on the board, the taunts are going to sound pretty tasty. Then you get the Plague Lord hero power. Choose one, 3 attack this turn or gain 3 armor. So you don't get both, but you've got an option depending on what the situation calls for. I think this is actually a really powerful hero. It doesn't look that exciting, it doesn't do anything that flashy, but it's fairly well costed. You get a decent effect, and I'd say this is gonna be just really solid, like even if it doesn't do anything too fancy. Next up is the Paladin Death Knight, Uther of the Ebon Blade. Costs you 9 mana, but you get to equip a 5/3 Lifesteal weapon, which is quite potent. Along with that 5 armor, that's going to heal you for 20 over 4 turns. You get to take out some big threats as well, and then you get to summon the 4 Horsemen, which gives you a 2/2 instead of a 1/1. But wait, there's more. If you summon all 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, you get a different one each time you click the button, then you destroy the enemy hero. That's right, having all 4 in play at once will just win you the game outright. The Apocalypse happens, and Uther's very happy. This is an incredible card. I'm a long time Paladin player, especially the kind of mid-range control style Paladin. I'm so excited to try this card out. Even though the actual Apocalypse scenario is probably not going to happen too often, I still think this card is super strong. Then we have the Warrior, Scourge Lord Garrosh. 8 mana with the Battlecry, equip a 4/3 Shadowmourne that also damages adjacent minions, so it hits the minions either side for 4 damage. You only take the damage from the thing you hit, so I love cards that take positioning into account. You're going to have to be very careful when you're playing against the Warrior, especially as turn 8 arrives, that you put your highest attack minion in the middle so that they have to hit that one and not hitting something weak and killing your big minions off on the side. And then you also get the Blade Storm hero power, which is just a whirlwind, deals 1 damage to all minions. There's plenty of warrior cards that benefit from that, including the new legendary Rot's Face, so going to be quite a handy thing to have. It's interesting because it's maybe not quite what you want in a super late control game versus having the armor up, which has traditionally been quite nice for the warrior in those long control matchups, but we'll see how it works out. And finally for the Warlock, the big 10 mana Blood Reaver Gul'dan. The Battlecry, summon all friendly demons that died this game. Very N'Zoth effect happens straight away. You get all those demons back out. The only problem is that there aren't necessarily that many great demons, but perhaps this will encourage people to play more of them, and you only need a few for it to be pretty decent. And you also get Siphon Life, the hero power. Deal 3 damage with Lifesteal, so you deal 3 damage to something, you gain 3 health. That's very swingy in the late game, and it's actually quite a nice thing for the Warlock to have, because you spend most of the game tapping, giving away your life to get more cards, and then as you get towards the end of the game, you can heal yourself back up, which is something the Warlock has trouble with, is almost killing themselves to get the cards they need. Now you have a way to counteract that in the late game. It's a very powerful hero power. The only kind of qualm I have is whether you're going to be able to get enough value out of that Battlecry, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be fantastic. And with that, we've pretty much covered everything. Now there's 135 cards out there, so plenty of the more standard ones we haven't really looked at. There's a ton of interesting cards, plenty to play around with. Go out there, get your hands on some packs. There's quite a few free ones that you can get through playing the adventure, through playing arena and such like that, and they'll give away a couple just for logging in, I imagine. So go out there, get some cards, try out the new heroes, and see how you get on. Have a great time, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers!